Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jesse, and today I'm bringing you a summertime book tag. I actually don't have a title for this book tag yet, so whatever this tag is titled, that's the title. I came up with a bunch of questions that both connect summer and books, two of my favorite things. I love me some books, and I am a summer lover. In the summertime is when my depression goes poof. Summertime means no more depression. Fall time is like, hello darkness, my old friend. And that's when I panic. Why am I unloading all of this on you in the intro of this video? Who's to say? Who's to know? You're not my therapist. Let's get to the book tag, shall we? Summertime, a book that you feel brings on the ultimate summer vibes. She is lovely, she is underrated, she needs more people to read her, and that book is The Lucky List. This is the story of a girl who spends one of her summers trying to get connected back to her mother who has passed away. That is to complete a bucket list that belonged to her mother at one point. In completing the things on the bucket list, she begins to feel closer to her mother. Now, I know most times when you think about summertime, you think about these like light-hearted, bubbly, rom-com-esque books. And this one does have a bit of an emo moment. Like there are times when you're like, ooh, I am feeling emotions. I am feeling feelings. I am depressed. But then on the flip side, there are other moments that are so wholesome, so pure, so lovely, so summer-esque. The book itself takes place during the summertime, which is the perfect setting for a summery book. Then we've got this beautiful lesbian relationship that develops. Our main character has only been in a straight relationship her whole life, and she's kind of exploring her sexuality throughout this book, and the relationship that develops there, is perfect. I love it. I ship it. I'm here for it. I don't know about you guys, but a bucket list situation just like brings me back to summertime. Summertime just reminds me of like doing adventurous things, and like a bucket list sounds adventurous. On her bucket list, there's things like get a tattoo, go on a picnic, try new food, sleep under the stars, skinny dip, buy a book in another language. So just like very summery, adventure-y things. And overall, I love The Lucky List. Again, I feel like more people should read this book because I feel like it's severely underrated. Severely underrated. Fantastic writing style, fantastic characters, bringing on the summer vibes. She's so lucky. Boom, boom, boom. Sunscreen, a book that you feel protected you from a reading slump. Does anyone else love the smell of sunscreen? Catch me sniffing a bottle of sunscreen at the pool. For this one, I am going with the book This Adventure Ends by Emma Mills. I forget about this book often, but I remember the time that I read it, it saved me from a reading slump. Like I was feeling pretty slumpy. I was like, oh no, Humpty Dumpty is about to be Slumpty Dumpty. I gotta go. Yes, I'm cringe, and yes, I hate myself too. But I definitely felt like a slump was coming on. I felt like the wave, the slumpy wave coming to just like power over me and make me drown in a slumpiness and not read anything. I'm gonna cut myself off there before I get too deep into nothingness. But this was so fresh, so bright, so happy. It just like completely pulled me out of that like slump that was coming over me. And I think the reason this book kind of saved me from that is because it just has every element in a book that I love. Give me a happy, fun book. Say no more. I love it just as much as I love sniffing sunscreen. Anyway, in this book we are following Sloane, who is moving from New York to Florida, and she's of course worried about this move. She's worried about finding friends. And when she gets to Florida, she does find this new group of friends, but she's concerned about them loving her and accepting her. Two of the people in the squad are twins, and Sloane becomes captivated by their mother, who was an artist. And one of their mom's paintings has gone missing, and Sloane becomes so like captivated by it and wants to track down this painting that went missing. Again, I said this book had so many elements going for it that like I just love. One, it has like a very strong friendship situation. It is kind of like a found family. You don't really get to see them like kind of forming that found family situation, but it's just about this friendship that is like so tight-knit and just has all these different personalities, all these different perspectives, all these different backgrounds. There's a road trip situation. I don't know about y'all, but like road trips also just like bring me back to summertime. Like I love a summertime road trip. There's also like a fandom-y bit tucked away in this story, and being passionate about nerdy things is a weakness for me. I also remember loving the parents in this book because the parents have a super positive influence on Sloane's life. Parent goals. Sunburn, a book that burned you. For this one, I'm going with the book that I read very recently, and that book is How to Kill Your Family, a book you should not read in public unless you want people staring at you with concern. In this book, we are following a girl who was convicted of murder, one that she did not commit, and throughout the story, she's revealing the murders that she did commit. And it's her killing people from her father's family and getting revenge. This one was hard to read at times, and there's a part of me that like understands why it was hard to read about, because like obviously we are following a killer. Like what about that screams, this is gonna be easy to read. The main character's gonna be fantastic. You're gonna love everything the main character does. Like no, we're following a killer. She's numb. She doesn't care. She's like slicing and dicing and knifing. And that's where it's hard for me to critique it, because obviously she's not going to be a very likable character, but she's just like insufferable, where it makes it difficult to read and it's not ever like enjoyable. I also feel like I went into this one with certain expectations, because the main blurb on here says funny, sharp, dark, and twisted. It is for sure dark and twisted, but it was never funny. I was never like, ha 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 ha. No. The book itself is outdated, and the twist at the end, I was not here for it. Burn, baby, burn. I do kind of blame my expectations going into this one, because they were kind of high. Like, not only was I super intrigued because of the title alone, but then the blurb had me thinking I was getting into some kind of like dark comedy situation. It is not a dark comedy situation. At least it wasn't for me. I never thought it was funny. There is some like dark humor. It never landed well with me. I was intrigued. I was excited to dive in, only to dive in and then proceed to drown in the deep end of disappointment. Pull Time, a book that made a splash in your life and had you diving in deep and making that book your entire personality. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't felt passionate, like a fiery burning passion of just like intense love for a book since Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, and I don't want to just like have that be my default answer. I would absolutely love to fall hard for another book in the way that I fell for Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, but it just hasn't happened yet. I have been on a long journey to find a book that hits in the way that that one hit me, and I just have been disappointed time and time again, but trust me, I am on a long journey of finding my next ride or die, go hard for book. I'll keep you guys updated. But I think one that I loved recently and somewhat made my own personality in the fact that I was just like recommending it left and right, and will continue to recommend it left and right, was the book Mika in Real Life. It's the story of Mika, whose life is just completely all over the place, and one day the daughter that she gave up for adoption contacts her and is like, I want to meet you. And Mika's like, yeah, sure. I'm just gonna lie about my entire life and act like I have everything together and pretend I'm somebody that I'm not. You probably can guess where things are gonna go and how messy it gets just by the description alone, and I can confirm that it is in fact messy. And Mika finds herself in a very dramatic situation. Imoko Jean has become one of those insta-buy authors for me. Like, if I see they have a book coming out, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna support it. This was her debut adult novel, and I loved every second of it. She pairs her like light and fluffy-hearted. She pairs her lighthearted and fluffy writing style with deep messages, and there's a lot of deep things that go on in this one. One is Mika hiding who she truly is, and the consequences that come with that. Then there's also her forging a relationship with her daughter that she gave up for adoption. And there's kind of a line there, because obviously the daughter kind of has a new life with a new family. We see Mika struggle with that line, trying to figure out what it is and what she can and cannot do. And there's a lot of complications that come along with that, let me tell ya. Finds herself in some hot water. Again, I don't know if I made this book my entire personality, but I made recommending it my entire personality, so it works. And I will continue my quest of finding the next book to make my entire personality. I can't wait to find that book and force it on all of you. Fireworks, a book that had an explosive plot that had you hooked on the book. Listen, I know that I've been talking about this trilogy a lot, and I know that I've been late to the party, and I know I should have picked out a different answer, but I'm going with The Poppy War. I'm still reeling from this trilogy, honestly. Like, I went into it with the expectations that it was going to hurt, that it was going to burn, that I was going to have to spend some time after recovering. I thought maybe going in with all these expectations that it wouldn't like hit as hard, that I wouldn't feel the pain as much, but like, no. Even knowing all of that, like, you don't really know until you're in it and experiencing it. Very much so has an explosive plot from beginning to end. The story starts out in such a different place from where we find ourselves in book 3, and it's been hard for me to honestly come back to earth after reading it. It came into my life, shook me up, and then tossed me into space, and I am just trying to get back to earth. Just trying. Though now that I think about it, if this book really like threw me to space, I'd be dead, so consider me dead, I guess. R.I.P. me. Lemonade, a refreshing read that reminded you why you love reading. I have the perfect book for this, and I read this like a couple weeks ago. The Long, Long Goodbye of the Last Bookstore. This is a light novel, and it's the story of a bookstore that is the last standing one in this town, and you have to travel pretty far out in order to find another bookstore. Unfortunately, the owner of the bookstore one day passes away, and now the bookstore is going to be closed. This is actually like the perfect selection for this question, and that's because in this book, we are seeing like all these different stories of different customers of the bookstore coming back to the bookstore to relive all these memories that they've had surrounding books, and it's so so magical, like so magical. There is like one weird element that comes into play, but like I just overlooked it. The thing that I love about books, and the thing that this reminded me of, is that when you're reading a book, like you're not only having a magical experience while reading it, but sometimes you can have magical stories happen surrounding books, whether that be like being connected with someone after reading the same book, having an act of kindness just happen to you in a bookstore, and that just completely changing your perspective on life, finding your lover through a book. Like there's just so many magical stories that can happen surrounding stories, and that's one of my favorite things about reading. Obviously, I also love just the overall act of reading and just enriching my life with fictional characters, fictional worlds, fictional stories, but also the things that can happen surrounding books. And that's what this book is. It's a reminder of the beautiful and magical things that can happen surrounding books. This is also the first light novel I've ever read, and if you don't know anything about light novels, basically they are novels that are pretty short and sweet, typically around the 50,000 word mark if I remember correctly. And then also these novels tend to appeal to anime and manga fans. So that's pretty much what a light novel is. Sometimes they can have illustrations throughout them. This one didn't really have illustrations, it just had like chapter illustrations like this, but each chapter did feel like you were reading an episode of an anime. Being a manga and anime lover, I was really into it. Popsicle, a short and sweet book that melted away far too quickly. Now I'm really craving a popsicle. My friend recently reminded me of the red, white, and blue popsicles, and I haven't had one in years, and I've been craving one ever since she brought that to my attention. For this one, I am going with Meet Cute Club. This is the story of Jordan, who is doing everything he can to save his book club that seems to be falling apart. This guy named Rex comes into his life who is a bit angsty and sassy. Together they form a relationship, and Rex helps him save the book club. This is in fact a very short and sweet read. In fact, one of my critiques is the fact that it's too short, which I'm gonna critique this book, but like I also enjoyed this book, and just know that like it is a very fun, lighthearted read, and if that's something that you're looking for, I do recommend it. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, but my main complaint about this book is that it was just too short. Like I wanted it to be fleshed out more. This is, I believe, the first in a series, or is going to be the first in a series, because on Goodreads it has like the #1 by it, so that leads me to believe that it's going to be expanded. We're gonna get more books in the series, which I would be down for, but I just felt like there were so many things that were brought up in this that were just like rushed and brushed over, and I needed to explore these topics more. There were so many things that were just dropped and plopped on us, and they were never like fleshed out, and I feel like we would be taking steps forward and talking about things, and then we would just take several steps back as things progress. But I loved the book club element. Jordan also frequents this bookstore, which is how he even meets Rex, and I also loved Rex as a character. Like he's super angsty, super sassy, and just like adds a ton of spice into Jordan's life. Like Jordan's life is kind of boring without Rex. Rex comes in and messes things up for the better. It's a good mess, a beautiful mess. Rex is just that character that is just like so smooth. Like he's kind of got like player vibes, honestly, but he was a smooth talker, and I was a fan. Fireflies, a book that lit up your life through a dark time. Ooh, I'm not about to be messy in this video and talk specifics about this certain situation, but I had a bit of a friendship falling out a few years back, and during this time I was reading this book in particular, and it just like completely relieved me of all the stress that came out with that friendship falling out, because friendship falling outs are never fun, ever, ever, ever. But the book that I read during this time was Sunny Song Will Never Be Famous. This is the story of Sunny Song, who has a video go viral, and her dream is to be kind of a social media star, but her parents end up shipping her off to like a summer detox camp where you're not able to use technology, and she's obviously frustrated because she wants to like build up a community and build up a following and build her overall social media platform, but she can't do that at this camp. This was just such a fun read. I feel like Suzanne Park does a fantastic job of just kind of implementing comedy throughout her books, and I really enjoyed those aspects. But then there's also like heartfelt moments, like we've got these really unexpected friendships that develop. There's a bit of a relationship moment that develops in here. And honestly, I loved like the camp atmosphere as well. Like as somebody who grew up going to summer camps, even though I dreaded going to summer camp, like thinking back on it, I used to be so stressed up until actually getting to the camp. It was like summer church camp, and it was really intense. It's kind of funny looking back because I used to be so stressed like leading up to the camp, and then I would get to camp and it would be fine. And like I look back on those experiences and I was like, camp was kind of fun. It was just really intense. I'm sure it would have been fine if it was just camp, but it was church camp, okay? It's a different kind of camp. But anyway, we're not talking about that today. This was just a fun read and the perfect thing to pick up when I was like going through a rough situation with a friendship. Sunset, show us the prettiest, most summer-esque book. I don't know if this is the prettiest summer-esque book that I have, but it's pretty summery. Like every time I see it, I'm like, summer. And also the story itself is very summery, so I'm gonna talk about it. That is Second Chance Summer. Even though this book is very, very sad, it's also very, very summery. This story follows Taylor and her family as they spend their summer at their lake house, house. Taylor's dad has received really sad news regarding his health, and so it's her kind of dealing with those emotions. And Taylor was very young the last time that they went to this like lake house, and so she has a lot of memories at this place. And it is a very summery book, but it's also a very sad book, and just be in the right mindset if you're gonna pick this one up and read it, because like I don't know that I was in the right mindset, because I was emo majority of this book. Even knowing what was coming, I was still emo. But the cover is very summery. We've got the docks here, we've got the lake here. It's got that summertime vibe, baby, but this book is like summertime sadness, got that summertime sadness. All right, friends, that was the summer book tag that I don't know the title of yet, but the title's right there. Look at the title. Oh, here's the title. Wow, I came up with the title. You guys should let me know down below in the comments what the most summery book is that you've read, and if you recommend it, because I have been in the mood for a summery book, and I feel like I have not read a summery book yet this summer, and there's still time. There's still a bit of time. If you like this video, be sure to go and hit that like button. If you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe or go and hit that bell icon and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope your day is bright, that tomorrow is brighter. Keep reading what your heart desires, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye!